His movement can be traced through the embassy. His movements can be traced even through his local authority of Namungona, where he has a family. So it was against the background of the information from the LC of Namungona and the consulate. So either in Uganda or the US, he'll be available and reachable whenever required to stand trial.
Updates of the journalist Muvawwala. We heard that he was granted a bail. We want to know the conditions that were put to him and what the status of the case.
We have a draconian law of disseminating information without permission, which should really not be within our law books. It's under that charge that a journalist by the names of Muvawwala Charles Kenya was detained last year when he was gathering information about at a political rally of the Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. Being a media personality, that charge, even if it would not be proper for any Ugandan, but it makes it worse that a journalist like Muvawwala can be arrested on such a charge and be in prison for over a month. Luckily, we have obtained bail for him on conditions that being an American citizen, he deposits his passport in court to curtail his movements, especially if it is to stand trial. Secondly, he was bonded on cash bail of 1 million shillings, which were all paid, and now he has partial freedom. He's free now to move within the country. But even when he requires to go back to the United States, all we need is to make an application for court to be satisfied that he'll travel and come back. He has an advantage that his case was closely followed by the US Embassy, particularly by the consular. The consular is a very high person at the embassy, dealing with the Americans who travel, people who travel to the US. So that is ground enough, reason enough for the court to believe that he is a responsible person that would not really disappear or abscond in such a small matter. He cannot abandon his media company. He's a media personality with a private media company with offices at Ruwaga. He has online media. So that is defense enough for him not to be convicted on that case. It is a holding charge, political in nature. The aim was to ensure that such persons are removed from the politics, because the camera, the media, was under attack. It became one of those avenues that they would frustrate the campaigns of the Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, because we all know Muvawwala was very close on that campaign trail. Such people like Muvawwala and many others were pulled out to affect the campaign. But now that the campaigns are over, I believe the state may drop these charges like it's been in previous cases.
We saw this happening when the consulate came in, and was it the pressure that was amounting to the government of Uganda, or it was in law?
I think the consulate coming in was binding enough to court and to the accused person. It was kind of a binding factor that would really assure court that this person is responsible. He can be traced. Yeah, we can be traced. His movement can be traced through the embassy. His movements can be traced even through his local authority of Namungona, where he has a family. So it was against the background of the information from the LC of Namungona and the consulate. So either in Uganda or the US, he'll be available and reachable whenever required to stand trial.
How far with the investigation in this case? Because state always they consider the law that gives them 6 months to make investigation complete. How far?
Muvawwala is scheduled to return to court on the 12th of February to see whether the state is ready. But the last appearances, the state has not been ready. They are still investigating. What is there to investigate in this matter? If it's a matter of disseminating information without permission, so it means the information disseminated is there, and the question is whether there was permission. What more would you need to investigate in such a matter? It is against the cardinal principle and Article 28 that commands a speedy trial, a fair and speedy trial. So that has been trumped upon by the state, not only for Muvawwala, but for many people who find themselves at the wrong side of the state politically. It is a political charge, it's a draconian colonial charge which should not have any bearing or anywhere, should not continue being anywhere in our law books. It is colonial. We should just ensure that we challenge it under the Constitutional Court so that it is struck off our law books. You cannot be a media person and again seek permission to disseminate information. That is ridiculous. That is unheard of. That is unreasonable.
Does this affect his work, or is now we can operate anywhere as a journalist?
He's right, having been detained. At least it's not one of the conditions that was set by court that he should now stop doing his work. So he's a free man to continue with his media work. But as I told you, the background is the reason that he was arrested is because he was disseminating information on a political rally. Simple. Because he was on the detail of the media that was covering the political rallies of the Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. That was the motivation of his arrest. And now that he's released after the elections, it says it all, that they wanted to hold him until the election is done.
We know the status of our prisons in Uganda. What is his status now? Is he well or?
Well, he was yet to visit, but he looked in a good health, but he told us that prisons are crowded. The problem is you do not have space to sleep. That some people even pile on top of each other. There's a night they threw in about 400 people, prisoners, and people had to. First, it has always been the case due to overcrowding that people sleep in turns. But now, besides sleeping in turns, even those turns are people piling on top of each other to have that small space, at least where to sleep. So those are some of the reasons why the legislation for bail was put in place, that to avoid overcrowding. Why should you keep someone who can return to court for trial? Why should you keep them in prison? It's one of the reasons people are granted bail. It is as good to the person being granted bail and as good as to the state, which does not have enough facilities with a view to congesting the already congested prisons.
What's your message to the DPP's office?
No, the DPP promised to bring a change, the new DPP. You don't just charge anyone without really good ground. You don't just charge people without proper investigations, where you may not even sustain the charge. You do not just charge because you need to. So the DPP should stand firm against the politics that brings so many of these prisoners that are being thrown into prison nowadays, and determine which matter really goes to court and which stops at police. So we need a strong DPP's office. We need strong state attorneys that can really see in between the lines on whether someone has a case to answer, or that these are some of these political machinations. This should stop. The DPP is mandated to be independent without direction from any organ of the state.
Thank you, Council. Thank you.